back to Let's Talk. My name is John, and today here on the channel we are going to be talking about 1989's Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And we're also going to talk about its 4K Blu-ray that came out from Paramount. But before we dive into that, if you are a fan of movie reviews, 4K Blu-ray reviews, lists, and podcasts, we try to do them all here on the channel, and nothing helps the channel out more than by you simply liking this video and subscribing to the channel. So after the success of the first two Indiana Jones movies, Steven Spielberg decided to come back and finish off his trilogy with 1989's The Last Crusade. And this time he decided to keep the formula that he had with Raiders of the Lost Ark. Temple of Doom wasn't as well received as Raiders of the Lost Ark was, and Temple of Doom kind of came out in a dark part of Steven Spielberg's life, even though he did meet his future and still to this day wife in Kate Capshaw in that movie, even though I'm hoping that she isn't a damsel in distress in his real life like she was in that movie. But at the time, it was a dark time for him in his life, and that movie kind of reflects that. So he decided to go back to the well and make a more fun, uplifting, more formulaic Indiana Jones movie. And for me, I do think that this is the best Indiana Jones movie. Does it lean a little bit more on comedy? Does it lean a little bit more on the silly stuff that we saw in Raiders of the Lost Ark? Yes, it does. But for me personally, that works the best. That's the type of Indiana Jones movie I like to see. I like to see those fun adventure movies. And this one kind of plays with our expectations in the sense that it's not Indiana Jones working with another woman like we had seen in the first two movies. No, this time he's actually working with his father, played by the great Sean Connery, in basically a against type of role in this movie, where instead of being the leader, the guy who's always in charge, the rugged, tough, debonair 007 type that we had seen him play in numerous movies before this. Plus, he was going through kind of a renaissance with The Untouchables, Highlander, so people were starting to see Sean Connery again in a different light. And this movie is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Sean Connery movies. I love his character of Henry Jones Sr. He's perfectly cast in this movie.
I didn't know you could fly a plane. Why, yes. Land, no.
Playing this very intelligent, but yet you can see that his clumsiness is kind of what led into the clumsiness of Indiana Jones, which is something I always appreciated about the character Indiana Jones, is that he's not perfect. He takes an ass kicking in every single movie. He barely gets out of anything by the skin of his teeth, and we always get those iconic shots of him grabbing his hat like we do in this one with the tank scene. And I just love their dynamic. We don't get to their family dynamic until about halfway through this movie. We see him very early in this movie with the great opening scene with River Phoenix, basically showing us how Indiana Jones became the Indiana Jones we know, which I have a lot of questions about as far as identity theft goes. Indiana Jones basically stole this one man's identity from this movie. He took the hat, the whip, the leather jacket, everything, almost like his persona, and made it his own. He also took the dog's name, as we find out. His name is Henry Jones Jr., not Indiana Jones. Indiana was the dog's name, as we find out at the very end of this movie. But that opening scene, all three of the original films have iconic opening scenes. I think I told you guys, though, I think Temple of Doom is my personal favorite of the opening scenes, and then this one, and then Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is crazy because Raiders of the Lost Ark has that opening scene with a giant boulder, which was really done, by the way, physically. So that one is usually most people's favorite of the Indiana Jones openings, but I prefer Temple of Doom, but this one is still just as good. It tells us everything we need to know, and the late River Phoenix does a phenomenal job in that one little scene that he gets in this movie, but it is an iconic scene at that. And then the rest of the movie just follows around Indiana as he's trying to rescue his father, and he's trying to search for the Holy Grail, which was his dad's. Basically, his whole life was just trying to find the Grail. He put a diary together of all these clues to help him find it. He sends it back to his son, but we find out that Henry Jones got kidnapped, so he's got to go all the way to find him, all the way across the world while they're still looking for the Holy Grail, and the Nazis are on their tail throughout. So we get a bunch of shenanigans through this movie. Some great comedic moments. I love the one where Sean Connery shoots the back of the plane, and he doesn't tell Harrison Ford that he did it. He's like,
I'm sorry. They got us.
So we get some great moments like that. We get the moments in the motorcycle, the moments in the tank. We get that moment where Henry Jones thinks that his son has actually died, and we can see that he actually truly does care about his son, which I never really felt like he didn't care about his son. I just felt like his son wasn't the most important aspect of his life. And you could tell that weighs on their relationship. Unfortunately for Harrison Ford, that's something that's always kind of been tough for him, but we finally get that great father-son moments in this, leading up to what I think is the best third act in any Indiana Jones film, where he has to go through all of the tests to get the Holy Grail, and then we get that iconic line that I always think of, even because me and my wife, I think we've told you guys, we're big fans of the show How I Met Your Mother, and they love Indiana Jones, and they, the line where you go,
You chose poorly.
Yeah, that line is iconic, and then you have chosen wisely. Those scenes are great when he's able to save his father at the very last second, and then you get them riding off into the sunset, the perfect conclusion to the Indiana Jones movies, and that's exactly where they should have ended. But unfortunately, we got a fourth film in 2008, and we get the Dial of Destiny coming out here in a few weeks, which I'm very excited about. And I'm also excited to revisit the fourth film, even though I didn't like it when it came out in 2008. That was a very bad movie theater experience for me. We'll talk about that next week, and I haven't seen the movie since, so I'm really excited to dive back into that because, you know, every movie deserves a second shot, even Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but none of them, in my opinion, will ever reach the heights of The Last Crusade. But the original trilogy in general, whichever one you choose to watch, it is always going to be good. You're going to have a great time with it. And if you want to watch this one, maybe you want to check it out on the 4K Blu-ray that we're going to talk about right now.
No ticket.
So just like all the others, it came for me in this nice 4K steelbook pack, and like I said about the packaging, not my favorite. Really do not like this exterior box with that little bend in it that came like that. It is extremely frustrating. You come inside, you pull out The Last Crusade. If you guys look over here, that was the Holy Grail on the back. That's a real carpenter's cup if you ask me. And you get, again, the nice white steelbook. I know that white isn't really an Indiana Jones color, and that's the one thing that bothered a lot of people when this came out. It does kind of bother me. I do think that the steelbooks that you can buy, the individual steelbook of this that came out last year, I do think has better artwork on it. I do think that this still will be better than the regular version of the 4K that's coming out here in a couple weeks. You pop it open. You get that nice interior artwork and individual disc design in that white color again that I do appreciate. I do appreciate that every disc in this set and the box art all kind of follow the same pattern. It does look pretty good on my shelf. I just really am just not a fan of that exterior box. They really should have done something better. Put a little bit more money into that. That just felt like Paramount cutting corners. And I'm sure that somebody said something to them, but they were like, nah, people aren't going to care about that. Well, I care about it, and I feel like a lot of people cared about it, and they're disappointed at this point because the disc itself, just like the previous ones in the set, we get the works, we get Dolby Vision, HDR10, Dolby Atmos, but we get no extras, and it's a one-disc set. So all of your extras, well, I guess we technically get extras because you get the theatrical and the teaser trailer, so you have to watch them on that disc, and that's all you get on that 4K disc is just that. But the quality of the film itself, the quality of the disc does more than make up for it, because out of all of the four that come in this pack, this is easily by far the best one. I mean, saying by far is kind of being a little bit mean, but it is the best looking that we get in the entire set. I think if I was going to rank the four, it would probably go 3, 1, 2, 4 as far as looks go on the 4K set. As far as the visuals go, I think they do a phenomenal job. It is all four of them though are some of the best looking 4Ks you'll ever see. They're all showpieces visually for your setup, especially bringing old films to the modern day, bringing them to 4K. I think that this is just a shining star in that. Everything looks great. You can see every bit of sweat on their face. You can see every little bit of stitching on their clothes. Now, the 4K resolution and the HDR do kind of make you notice when things are sets, which I have said before. I appreciate that. I love it when they build physical sets, even when they do look like sets. I do think that the Indiana Jones movies were going for this cheesy 1950s look about them, kind of playing into those serials that George Lucas and Steven Spielberg were going for. I think that look is intentional, and I love that aesthetic. I think they nailed it perfectly. But the 4K is going to make that stuff more noticeable, so if you aren't a fan of that, it might take you out of it a little bit, but if you are, you're definitely going to be happy and neat and good with this one. Now, the audio, you get a nice Dolby Atmos track on here, which is, again, just like all the others, pretty much perfect. You get that John Williams score blaring through your speakers. You get all the over-exaggerated sound effects every time someone punches someone. You get it just almost blowing in your face. Everything sounds perfect. It's a showpiece Dolby Atmos track as well. This is definitely, by far, in my opinion, like I said earlier, the best of the Indiana Jones 4Ks that we have ever gotten. And because it's my favorite Indiana Jones film, I really am happy that we actually have a piece like this. Something that it's in the highest quality of the film you've ever seen. If you've seen the previous Blu-rays or DVDs, it is quite a quality jump for these 4Ks. And I'm really glad that Paramount at least didn't half-ass the disc. I wish they wouldn't have half-assed the extras and the packaging, but unfortunately we didn't get that. And I also am pretty frustrated with the fact that they are double and now triple dipping by releasing these last year on their own individual steelbooks, and then this year they're releasing them individually in just their regular standard form. Back when this first came out, you could only get them together. I do not appreciate Paramount doing that, and you just know later this year, we talked about this in the last review, that we're going to get a 5-disc set that includes all the films, probably in a really nice package. It's going to be frustrating for people who went out and bought this when it first came out, in the sense that it's probably going to look way better, but at least we can say safely that all of these discs are good, and these discs in this set are definitely all really, really solid. I have almost no complaints about the visuals and audio on any of them. Like I said, Last Crusade I think is the best. I also think it's the best film in the set, so how would I rate this on a score of 1 to 10? I would still give this a really solid 8.5 out of 10. I would love to give it a 10 out of 10, but the lack of extras and the packaging, I have to take a little bit of points off, and also not having that second Blu-ray disc, it kind of just feels a little grimy on the sense of Paramount kind of releasing these without giving the collector a little bit more thought. But I do appreciate the effort, and as long as the disc is great, and that disc is great, I can honestly recommend this. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for being here on another episode of Let's Talk. I hope you enjoyed my review of The Last Crusade and its 4K Blu-ray. We'll be back again so we can review The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and its 4K Blu-ray probably sometime next week. And if you want to keep watching these reviews, nothing helps this channel out more than by you simply liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Then when you're done doing all of that, I want you guys to go out, find a whip your friends with it, and then tell all your friends about us. We'll be seeing you around.